so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the rinse, wash, repeat playbook that the British media keeps playing, and I found some video evidence to support my claims, so let's get into it. Once again, thank you so much for clicking on my video. If you have not already, feel free to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that notification bell. I want to say a big hello to the friend circle, the viewers, the subscribers, anyone who is here and supporting the channel. Thank you so much. And I'm going to curtsy to the Royal Court and the Patreon members. Thank you so much for your contribution and all that you do. If you have not seen them yet, in case you missed it, feel free to check out the 2 new members only videos that just went up. Just hopping in here, just to remind you, there are 2 new videos that went up this weekend. In case you missed it, ICYMI. If you have not seen it, feel free to check them out. On the YouTube member side, a video went up called Prince Harry Was Right, where we dissect an opinion piece that was published last week. And we talk about the comments that Prince Harry made in Spare, as well as in Harry and Meghan Netflix docuseries. And we talk about how those affected current events, as well as the validity of those claims. And then another video went up on Patreon, Harry and Meghan, and it's regarding the Harry and Meghan Netflix docuseries. Liz Garbus, the director, had comments about Buckingham Palace's attempted interference, as well as the attempt to discredit those claims. So feel free to check out those 2 videos, and I will see you on the flip side. So again, today I want to talk about the playbook, the rinse, wash, and repeat playbook that we've talked about with the British media, but this time I have some video evidence to support my claims. There are some striking similarities, not only from the British papers and the British press, but also the monarchy. And when I was reviewing old footage, I was like, this sounds familiar. Yeah. So anyway, Ifashtia, I understand. I see it right in front of me. So now, I want to take us through a few rinse, wash, repeat plays from this ridiculous playbook. First, I want to start with this clip of Prince Charles and Princess Diana.
And what did you think then? What was your instant impression, both of you? What did you think about Lady Diana?
Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. And, I mean, great fun, and bouncy and full of life and everything. I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Okay, first, whatever love means will forever and always get under my skin. It will always annoy me. It was just such an unnecessary dig. And when I watched a bunch of Prince Charles and Princess Diana's clips, a bunch of their interviews, he was always like low-key jabbing her. I was actually really shocked. I don't know. I guess because I wasn't alive at that time, but I have seen a lot of those clips before, and it just never jumped out at me in the same way. But like father, like son, because when you watch William and Harry's clips of them being interviewed, every single interview that they did together, William is jabbing the hell out of Harry. One of which I actually used in one of my live streams when we were talking about Prince William and Prince Harry and how Prince William was always jabbing him. But Charles was doing the same thing. It's called negging, where you just constantly like belittle and make little comments, and they're almost always put in the form of jokes, but they're really passive aggressive and at times just outright aggressive. And over time, people get desensitized to it and you don't even notice it. I used to have a friend who would do the same thing, and finally another friend was like, why is she always coming for you? And she's always making comments, and I was like, that's just how she is. She just got like a jealous personality, and that's just how she processes it. And believe it or not, my friend goes, yeah, but you're not a punching bag. Something so simple. Like, and I was like, you're right, I didn't do shit to her. It's neither here nor there, but it is negging. And I watched that happen over and over and over with Charles. This is one of those moments, whatever love means, it completely undermines the relationship they have and the engagement, and the entire time you see Princess Diana, as young as she was, constantly working that media savvy to recover his statements. The entire interview, if you watch that interview in its entirety, the whole interview, Charles is just not present. He is not on his game, and Diana is constantly just like selling it. He is not selling it at all. So even the interviewer is like trying to guide Charles into saying nice things about Diana, and Charles is just like, poof. Like, I know the story. I know that she wasn't the person he wanted to marry, but at what point do you, if you're gonna do it, you need to do it. If he wasn't going to play along or at least completely get invested the entire time, not just for a couple of years, but the entire time from start to finish, he should have committed or not been in it, period. You can't do any of this half in, half out, but he was clearly doing the half in, half out. And so, in addition to that, one of the things that struck me, I know it was a different time, but it still will never not make me feel gross because he was so much older than her. And the fact that he said he saw a jolly 16-year-old and that's what attracted him to her, I was just like, literal child. Literal child. Obviously, they didn't get engaged at that point, but that's when he saw her for the first time. And the way he described her, he's describing a kid. And the question was, when did you first, realize you liked Diana or fell in love with Diana or something like that? Like, it was regarding their love. And he said the first time he met her, she was just a jolly 16-year-old with a bubbly personality. And I'm like, most kids are jolly. And then it's interesting that that's what attracted him to her, because he spent the rest of their marriage trying to stomp that light out. So it's interesting how sometimes people can see something they love and want or they admire and just want to stomp it out because they can't control it. And I also find it interesting that, yes, we all know the story that she was not his first choice, which is surprising because she is like the epitome of like the perfect bride or whatever. She's like the image of the perfect bride. She's just nice, she's caring, she's sweet, she's empathetic, she's beautiful, like all these really nice things. But he knew what he wanted. And again, like I said, sometimes you have to allow people to get what they ask for. Sometimes our biggest lesson is getting exactly what we want. And that is, he is no stranger to that, because look at the life he leads now. And believe it or not, I think he's happy. He don't know no better. Neither does she. So anyway, I'm not going to go in on Charles and Camilla today. But what I will say is, it's interesting that he said all these really nice things about Diana. I think he was saying what he thought he was supposed to say. But he said all these nice things about Diana, but he spent their entire marriage punishing her for it. Not even just the marriage, the night before the wedding. So I found this clip from Penny Thornton. She's an astrologer that worked with Diana a few times. And this is something that she said. Penny Thornton, an astrologer Diana consulted, spoke out about the bombshell claim in ITV's 2020 documentary, The Diana Interview, Revenge of a Princess 25 Years After Her Famous Interview on BBC's Panorama. Quote, "One of the most shocking things that Diana ever told me was that the night before the wedding, Charles told her that he didn't love her," Thornton said. "I think Charles didn't want to go into the wedding on a false premise. He wanted to square it with her, and it was devastating for Diana." Thornton added, quote, "She didn't want to go through with the wedding at that point. She thought about not attending the wedding." So here's another clip that I thought was interesting, and then we'll get to the point that I want to make. Diana detailed the vicious cycle to Morton. From day one, she felt unsupported by her husband in her weighty new role. She also didn't trust him, convinced he was still romantically involved with his married ex, Camilla Parker Bowles. In turn, Diana continued, Charles was dismissive of what she acknowledged were her blatant cries for help, including instances of self-harm, such as throwing herself down the stairs when she was pregnant with William in 1982. Charles accused her of crying wolf. Even if he was at a loss as to how to help his wife, Charles did arrange for Diana to see a psychiatrist in the fall of 1982. He wrote to a friend, Jonathan Dimbleby's 1994 biography, The Prince of Wales, quote, "The trouble is one day, I think some steps are being made uphill only to find that we've slid back 1.5 steps the following day." So that doesn't sound like it could be easy, but let me just say this, not to blame Charles fully for what Diana went through, not to fully blame him, but what I will say is one way to ensure that your marriage doesn't get off to the right start is to tell your wife you don't love her the night before. I'm just saying, if one wants a successful marriage, then one might want to go into it with a clean heart and a good conscience and just overall goodwill toward the person they're marrying. Like I feel like I'm being really rational and being very polite by asking him, not saying he has to love her, although he should He should have done that. But the fact that you didn't even take the time to just have goodwill toward her. You were nagging her throughout the entire engagement interview. You left her alone as soon as you got engaged. You weren't there. You let your mistress mess with her mind. Like, you didn't offer her any support. And then on top of all that, you put all this pressure on her, mistreat her. And the moment she says, you know, I'm not well, I need help, and she throws herself down some stairs, you say she's crying wolf. Well, I don't know about that, because most people who are crying wolf don't actually act on it. Just saying. I would rather overreact to someone saying they're having ideations like that and get them help when in actuality they didn't really want it, or it was just a ploy. I would rather overreact and reach out and get them help than to assume someone is faking it or lying or using it as a ploy or manipulation and not get them help and then have devastating results. So many people stop speaking. It's already hard to speak out when you have ideations like that anyway. You are already under like immense pressure. There's already a stigma attached to it. There's stress induced when you decide to open up because you don't know how the person's going to react. You're already probably fearing judgment. Whatever problems are leading you to that, or whatever's going on with you that are leading you to that, are not going away by bringing it up. You're just now entering someone else who might be able to act on your behalf or help you act on your own behalf. And when that person turns and judges you, now it's worse off than it was before. And that's why if somebody confides in you that they are having ideations such as that or struggling mentally, they're not asking you to have all the solutions. They're not asking you to solve the problem. They're not asking you to be a therapist or a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They're not asking you to have all the answers and fix their problem for them. They're reaching out for help. If you don't know what to say, Google is free. Matter of fact, I'm gonna Google it right now. The first thing that pops up, and everybody got Google on their phone or Safari with a Google app. You can look it up. But the first thing it says is help is available. 988. 988. Let's say it. 988. If you are having ideations, dial 988. Help is available. Once you follow through with that step, and maybe you still need more information as to what to say in the moment while you're helping them to dial 988, maybe something else that you could try, or some of these tactics. Let them know that you care about them and that they aren't alone. Now, I'm not going to judge people, but most people react that way when anyone they care about is in distress, or even people that they don't care about. Like, you can meet a stranger on the street who's crying, and your natural impulse is usually, are you okay? Can I help with something? What can I do? Most people jump in and are like we're meant to be communal people. We're supposed to help our fellow person. So even you don't even have to love someone to simply say, I don't want you in pain. I don't want you hurt. But most of all, I want you here. So if you don't know what else to say and they've dialed 988 or whatever the case, and they don't have time to dial 988, maybe they're just not gonna do that. Just tell them you care. Don't judge them. Don't say, stop that. Girl, no you ain't. Or, oh my God, you're being so dramatic. Don't dismiss them. Don't judge them. Don't make it worse. Don't do any of that. Simply be human. If you don't know what to do, be human. Some people can't empathize. Some people can't sympathize. Just be human and say, I want you to be happy. I care about you. You deserve to be happy, and I am here for you. Whatever we can do, we're going to do it together. I got your back. Next tip, empathize with them. Be aware that you don't know exactly how they feel. So don't rationalize what they're going through. Don't dismiss what they're going through. The worst thing you can do is dismiss it or rationalize it or judge them. Like, oh girl, do you know, I've been through worse. The worst thing you can do when someone says, I'm going through this problem and I don't know how to get over it, and I'm feeling like harming myself, the worst thing you can do is, I went through worse and I survived. Y'all don't know how to survive no more. Y'all don't know. Y'all weak. This generation is weak. This generation always jump into blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when the generation doesn't exist as a whole, what are you going to do? So we want to make sure people have the tools to pull themselves with our support out of that place. It's not about judging. And honestly, that whole idea that I had it worse, so you don't deserve to grieve, you don't deserve to be in pain, you don't deserve to suffer, you don't deserve to own your own feelings, because I had it worse by my terms, then you don't deserve to go through anything or acknowledge your own pain. That is some toxic shit. If you don't know what to say, at the very least, I would rather you not say enough than say the wrong thing. So if you don't know what to say and you don't remember anything else that I've said today, dial 988 and empathize. Just simply say, I'm here for you. I'm in your corner. We'll get through this. That's it. If you don't know, if you got to repeat that the whole time until help comes, if you got to repeat that the whole time until someone better equipped can be there, till you can get an emergency session with a therapist, until you can just get help, then just repeat that. I'm here for you. We'll get through this. I'm in your corner. You're gonna see the other side. Don't give up. I got your back. That's it. That's it. Don't judge. Don't rationalize. Don't belittle and dismiss. Y'all act like y'all got all the problems. You can't judge your journey based on someone else. So just because you went through something or had it worse by your standards, you don't know what worse is, because you don't know what it's like to be them. You don't know what led them to this moment. You only know the brief glimpse into their life that you have right now, and you are using the culmination of your entire life to belittle the small part that could take them out. So instead of jumping to judgment or jumping to dismiss, take a moment to be a damn human. And if you are not the person to render aid, that's okay too. Just say 988, I'm in your corner. I got your back. We're going to get through this. That's it. But I'm going to link this article in rethink.org that has a whole plethora of things that can help equip you should someone confide in you that they are having ideations, and then you can help them get help. Again, you are not expected to be a therapist if you are not a therapist. You are not expected to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist in any way, shape, or form. If your loved ones or someone you don't even know, someone comes to you with these ideations, 988, I'm in your corner. We're going to get some help. You're going to get through this. Don't give up. That's it. But for more information, use the link in the description box below. In addition to not supporting Diana, in addition to basically dismissing her woes as crying wolf, in addition to saying all the things he loved about her, all the things that, well, he was attracted to in her, how jolly she was, how personable she was, how empathetic she was, all these positive things. Now, he can see it, but he grew an envy because other people could see that light as well. And remember when I said some people can admire your light and still want to stomp it out because they can't control it? This is what I mean. So I found this clip that makes this point. Quote, well, the real life Diana confirmed that Charles envied the public's devotion to his wife in her explosive 1995 interview with the BBC's Martin Bashir. Quote, the pressure on us both as a couple with the media was phenomenal and misunderstood by a great many people, she said. We'd be going around Australia, for instance. Australia. And all you could hear was, quote, oh, she's on the other side. Diana subsequently clarified that waiting crowds were expressing their disappointment that Charles was closer to them rather than Diana, explaining, quote, they weren't on the right side to wave at me or to touch me. Quote, now, if you're a man like my husband, a proud man, you mind about that if you hear it every day for 4 weeks and you feel low about it instead of feeling happy and sharing it, Diana continued. When Bashir asked, so they were expressing a preference even then for you rather than your husband, she responded, yes, which I felt very uncomfortable with, and I felt it was unfair because I wanted to share. Diana confirmed Charles's jealousy when Bashir asked if she was flattered by the media attention she received. Quote, no, not particularly, Diana replied, because with the media attention came a lot of jealousy. A great deal of complicated situations arose because of that. Remember when Harry said, you're doing too well, my love? When Meghan gave a speech and had a standing ovation, he said, you're doing a great job, but you're doing too well, my love. It's the same thing, except the difference is Diana didn't have the support of a husband who loved her. She actually had her greatest op was in the car right next to her, mad that she's getting love. Like, at the end of the day, y'all remember when I said the monarchy as a whole is extremely short-sighted for losing Meghan? They showed this before. The playbook is the same. They were extremely short-sighted with Diana as well. Why would you be mad at bringing in a person, although because it's ego? I know why. This is a rhetorical question. But why would you be mad if you have the foresight and the vision to improve the longevity of your institution, your monarchy? That is your job, to maintain its relevance and its longevity. And you bring someone in who does just that. You're mad because that person ain't you. Well, this is the thing about building a team. Let's take it back to a real basic level, not even a marriage or relationship or a monarchy. When you're building a team, you don't hire people who offer the same strengths that you have. You hire people who might share some of those because you want backup and you want to improve yourself as well. But you mostly look for people who fill in the gaps that are hindering your team from being as successful as it possibly could. So you look at your team, you give your team, and you get other opinions of qualified opinions, and you look at how could our team improve. Let's look at our metrics. Let's look at how our team could improve. What are some areas of improvement that we can afford to get? What can we gain from improving ourselves in these areas, or improving our team in these areas? And then you train your current team to get better in those areas. But then when you are looking to expand, you look for people who excel in those areas. And then you bring that person on, and now your team is stronger. And so instead of you saying, customers like her too much, I want them to like me that much, instead of saying that, say, what do customers like about her? How does she connect with customers like that? Maybe she could help spread that around to the rest of my team. Just like Diana said, I wanted to share it. See, those who get it. When you have that light, you don't have any interest in keeping it all to yourself. You recognize your blessing, and most blessed people bless others, which is probably why they're blessed. Whatever. We can go there, but we're not gonna go there today. All I'm saying is Diana knew what she had. She knew who she was, and she knew what she offered. And instead of holding that in like those sorry bag of bones would have done, she shared it. Or at least she tried to. But he was so egotistical. He was so proud, which is just him being an insecure man. Boastful, insecure. It's all part of the same little cocktail of toxic man or toxic person. But he wanted it all for himself. And I don't even know if he wanted it for himself. He just wanted to be able to control it. Toxic. So I found another clip that also resonated with me as a rinse, wash, repeat of the same playbook. Let's take a look at it.
Did you find it difficult to adapt?
I did, yes. Purely because there was so much attention on me when I first arrived on the scene. And I had so many people watching me, and the pressure was enormous. But as years go on, it gets better. But you're still learning all the time.
So we know that although Diana was a rock star at the job, we do know that she did have a rocky start. We've heard this story in many different forms. It's been covered so many times. So many people have weighed in. But what has always been consistent is that essentially the royal family brought her in, did not train her, did not help her adapt at all. And then on top of not helping her adapt, they lacked any type of compassion or empathy at all. It's not even like they were asked to just handhold her throughout the entire journey. But they didn't even have any sense of, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm in your corner. You have my support. They weren't interested because they were all jealous, just to be real with you. And so she did have difficulty adapting. And the way she answered this question was just still so kind and gentle and honest, but also very flattering to the family and her husband. She was always trying to make it a point to contribute to the positive side of the monarchy, because she could have easily lit it up and been like, yeah, I did have trouble adapting and not one of these sorry suckers helped me. Like, she could have said that, but she didn't. She was very kind about it. But I thought it resonated a lot, because why didn't you have the support? Especially if they all understand how hard that experience is on them, you would think that they would have a lot more compassion. Or if it's completely self-interested, you would think that having her here and having her get adapted as soon as possible, that will actually benefit the entire family and the organization as a whole. It's just all wins to helping this woman adapt. But here's some thoughts that Charles had on adapting.
Knowing for years that the camera's poking at you from every quarter and recording every twitch you make. So you can get used to a certain extent, and on those occasions you accept that that's part of it. I think if you don't try to work out in your own mind some kind of method for existing and surviving this kind of thing, you would go mad, I think.
Which is, I suppose, one of the most important things you're going to have to adjust to, really, isn't it?
Of course, yes.
And Prince Charles has been a great help to you in that way,
Well,
I should
it's
say.
a tower of strength.
Precious.
I had to say that because you're sitting there. I had to say that because you're sitting there.
So we see the same thread. Like, remember what yesterday in my live stream I said, if you don't evolve, if you look back on yourself and nothing has changed, you ain't been doing it right. You need to evolve. You need to be able to look back at yourself and recognize some areas of growth that needed to happen, and then be happy that they did. But you shouldn't be the same person 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. And what I'm seeing is Charles has had the same copy paste repeat response to people needing support with being in the royal family. Even with himself, you can tell that was probably drilled in his head as just, don't read the papers, my boy, or my darling boy, don't read the papers, don't feed into it. Every time Harry and Meghan tried to go to Charles for help, they were dismissed in the same way that Diana was, and it was caught on film. The next clip I thought was really interesting because this one is more so on the media. They are obsessed with the female rivalry. Let's take a look.
Now, do you have any sense of living in a state of rivalry with Princess Anne, as is said time and time and time again?
None at all. Princess Anne's been working incredibly hard to save the children from, and I'm her biggest fan because what she crams into a day I could never achieve. And we've always hit it off very well, and I just think she's marvelous.
So in this clip, again, flawless answer by Princess Diana. She was so endearing. But they tried to push that Princess Anne versus Princess Diana trope. Now, I do know that there were some icky feelings, but the press shouldn't have had any knowledge of that. So they were briefing way back then. But the press shouldn't have known that. And we do know that Princess Anne in some way was jealous at how well received Diana was with the public, and she also thought that Princess Diana was getting unfair like love and adoration because she felt she worked harder than Diana. Something I also noticed is that Princess Anne has a problem with anybody Charles brings home. Now, we do know her issues with Camilla are because of their whole little triangle. All of them was just sleeping with each other, except for the brother and sister, but all of them was sharing partners with Andrew Parker Bowles and Camilla Parker Bowles, and Anne and Charles, they was all just flip-flopping. And a lot of her disdain for Camilla came from that. But she also didn't like Diana because she felt like Diana wasn't a hard worker. And then she also was a little bit jealous, reportedly, allegedly, whatever, that Diana got the love she received. That's why Diana said that trip to Australia, a lot of problems arose from that experience because it wasn't just Charles who was taken aback by her popularity. That was always, no matter what they said, the narrative that they tried to push was, yeah, but I'm pretty sure Meghan was the issue and Kate tried to help her adapt, but Meghan wouldn't listen. Then it was Camilla tried to help her adapt. Meghan wouldn't listen. Then it was Anne tried to help her adapt. So they tried to pit Meghan against each woman at a different point in time. I found this particularly interesting about the way the media began to paint Princess Diana.
Read in the papers that you are a determined, domineering woman.
I don't always read that. People very willing to tell me that. But I don't think I am. I'm a perfectionist with myself, but not necessarily with everybody else. Because there's far too much about me in the newspapers, far too much. It horrifies me when there's something more important, like what goes on in a hospice, or there's been a bomb or something. They'll put me on the front page.
But it's a penalty of the job.
So in this clip, I really respected Diana for this response. She was very clear. Harry is just like her. She said, yes, that's how they like to paint me. Like, I know they some lying sacks of shit, but this is who I really am. Like, she sat in that and she said it in a very royal way, but she was very clear. This is not who I am. I am not domineering. It's interesting. On the one hand, they can say that she's not strong enough and all these things, but then on the other hand, and they can dismiss her woes as her crying wolf, but then on the other hand, they call her domineering. Well, let me just say this. If she's domineering and bossing everybody around and she's the one in charge, why is she so unhappy? it's clear that they were trying to pick a narrative to see what stuck. And I'm glad that she spoke up for herself. She was like, no, I am not domineering. And you know what? Every woman, every strong woman that I know, every last one of us has had someone call us domineering, defensive, angry, mean. It's something that they attach to women so that we can't feel assertive. We can't feel like we are empowered. They don't want us to feel empowered because then you can't control an empowered person. So I thought that was interesting, considering we do know that Meghan was called Princess Pushy and Duchess Difficult, but that did not start with her. They were already trying to paint her mother-in-law in the same light. At what point is the royal family and the British press, are they going to come together and say, there's a way to accomplish all the same goals without leaving so many people in harm's way? But they're not interested in that, because the people who are running the show on both sides are all egomaniacs, interested for self. Give me your commentary on each clip, and then tell me which clip shocked you the most. The one where they called Diana difficult and domineering really did set me aside, because I don't remember that. I had never seen that clip, so that was the first time I'd ever seen that clip. And when I tell you I was angry, I'm like, out of everybody y'all could be calling domineering, Diana? Really? On one hand, you say she's too likable. On the next hand, you say she's domineering. Pick a struggle. So I'm interested in hearing your feedback. I'm really glad to share these clips with you. I wanted to share them during the live stream, but we were already in that thing for over an hour. So I was like, let me not waste their time. So I'm glad to talk about it here. So please tell me your thoughts. I'm really interested in your feedback. Hi, everybody. Just cutting in here really quick, just to let you know that my podcast, Sweet Discernment, is back. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, and Anchor. Don't forget to check it out. It is my podcast, and I hope you enjoy. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Bye. Once again, thank you so much for watching my video and supporting my channel. If you have not already, please don't forget to go and like the video and leave your commentary outside of the live chat, because we chat in the live chat, but it doesn't actually resonate to the comments. So feel free to go leave your commentary in the comment section. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.